treating it like a threat. And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well. Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Wanna be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Sponsors taken care of right off the top. Bull, Bitcoin, and easy DNS. The media is feeding the slop. It doesn't matter what topics discussed. Quality entertainment and information you can trust.
That's being planned or at least discussed. You know, we're not going to allow
quality entertainment and information you can trust. Send the guy some value, boost them with some stats. Bitcoin is a scarcity asset. I mean, it's just a fact. Geopolitical, national, down to the local clown.
Friends and enemies, welcome back. The Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. Len, I don't know if I should be worried, but I just saw a couple pallets of bricks outside my house. You know what that could mean. So I'm keeping an eye out for rioters.
Is it the Masons? Are they nearby?
For the Masons yearly council.
Maybe it's the stonecutters.
Taking place.
Could be the stonecutters meeting. I heard they're going to be hanging around in the Hamilton region.
So God, just shoot
take off the stone of shame and put on the stone. I forget what the second stone is called. Such a good episode.
Listen, Len told me before the show that we're up against Leafs game 3 or Leafs. Fuck the Leafs will never be in a Stanley Cup final before I'm dead. The Panthers
that's a good
and
bet. Do you think they will make the finals before you?
$1 million Bitcoin or Leafs in the Stanley Cup? What comes first?
I would say it would be USD 1 million,
wow.
But versus you disappearing,
unaliving. Jeez, I don't
right?
know.
It's like we're talking. You know, I don't know, man. It's a long time. It's a coin flip. I guess.
I wouldn't put any money on it.
Yes,
Kyle Dubas is, I think, still managing the Leafs, and he's around my age. So,
isn't it? You talking about the coach?
No, the GM.
Well,
Shanahan was the president. He's gone now. But I think Dubas was still involved, or maybe is still involved. And then obviously, I was talking to actually Jordan before the show here, just trading DMs with him. I have a Switch that came to the house today, a new Switch. I'm probably not going to get to play it for, I don't know, a year at this rate. Reno's going on at my house. Things are busy, man. You know, the older I get, the busier I get, and the more I just want to be left alone to work out, honestly. So
send it back. That's what I'm doing. Because you know what? It turned out to be a flop in terms of the resale market on that.
Did it? Wow.
Yeah. So
I fired up Tears of the Kingdom today for like 10 minutes. And
such a good game.
The fidelity, Len, like that's the way the game's meant to be played at 60 FPS, like high frame rate, high contrast, good graphics. My TV is 4K 120 and the Switch, I guess, does 4K or does HDR now. So it recognized that right away and made some changes.
If you're not CRTing it, like you just...
Is that right? That's the N64
experience
way,
is
right?
lost, right? Like, it's got to be true, authentic 16-bit CRT style or 8-bit, depending if you want to go there.
We got lots to talk about today. Shipping container houses. I sent you and Mark a voice note that I want to just repeat later in the show. We are truly living in interesting times. But first, the sponsor, speaking of Mark, EasyDNS, your friendly neighborhood registrar. Go there and take care of all your domain and hosting needs. I mean, what else can you really say? If you want to buy a domain, Mark's your man. You want to port one over, you got one already, bring it over there, Mark's your man. Tons of security stuff over there, Len. We talk about this stuff on Access of Easy every week on Thursdays, releases Fridays. You should be subscribed to that channel and podcast. But on the EasyDNS side, easy mail and domain share for a couple extra bucks. Make sure your information, your mailing list, your business, your clients, they're all protected and you're not getting spoofed by some scamming group from India or something. I don't know. And then on top of that, what else, Len? All sorts of virtual private server stuff for the Bitcoin enthusiast. You can do BTC Pay servers, you can do NOS relays, you can do Bitcoin nodes, anything you want possible with EasyDNS. Go there. Our promo code CBP Media. Load your cart. 50% off first round of buys. Can't beat it. I see AP. I think that's Alex in the chat saying Dubas left. He's with the Pens. Yeah, see, it goes to show what I know. I don't know anything about hockey. I'm completely lost out to lunch on the hockey management side. That's for sure.
We'll bring you up to speed then. Bring me up to speed too. But you know what I don't have to bring up to speed is people learning to or wanting to buy or sell Bitcoin because Bull Bitcoin has you covered. I was just looking at my block clock. 110K. What the heck happened today? Either way, maybe people are buying obviously people are buying, but it gives an opportunity to sell too. You can do that with Bull Bitcoin, on-chain, Lightning. Last time I checked, fees are still very cheap. Blocks are not full, so use the on-chain because that is the way to go. But eventually we'll have to use something else like Lightning. Other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, you could send it like through e-transfer. So you can send your Bitcoin through an e-transfer, which is rather cool. That's one way to pay people for stuff because you know what? Lately I've been purchasing things from folks, eggs, for instance. And yeah, you know, it's one good way to end up. By the way, duck eggs are available.
Did you get some?
Yeah, I did.
Have you tried them?
Family did.
Nice. And
yeah,
we'll
so
see. What's the verdict?
Yeah, the thumbs up. But
nice.
Let's talk about Bull Bitcoin because,
sure.
because they're the ones that paid
you
for
cannot
it.
You can't get duck eggs from Bull Bitcoin. Okay, you have to know someone and then use Bull Bitcoin to pay that person. Bull Bitcoin does not have any ducks on the ranch. All right, there's no ducks over there.
Yeah, so check them out if you're in Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, some parts of Europe. Bull Bitcoin is the exchange for you. Non-custodial. This is what you want in exchange. They are mission focused. If you use our promo code below, it's going to take a little bit off your buys moving forward in perpetuity. Check them out.
Yeah, you love that, man. Some housekeeping first, and we'll get to the boost. Last week, Mike Hobart and I sat down. Mike's a first-time guest on CBP. We followed each other on Twitter for a long time. He was a great guest, and the chat had some things to say about the discussion that we had about feminism, masculinity, families, all sorts of stuff that I think, you know, we generally agreed on almost everything. These, you know, one thing I'll say is that on this show over the years, we've had some easy conversations, stuff that everyone agrees with. And we've had some not so easy ones, stuff that not everyone agrees with. We've had some shows where me and Len don't agree with the guest. We've had some shows where the guest doesn't agree with us. We've had some shows where me and Len don't agree with each other, all these things. And it makes for a good show as long as the conversation is civil, as long as it's not, you know, I hate to say it, but, you know, you don't want to be dumping hatred on anybody over their, you know, beliefs or way of life. You may disagree with certain religions or people or whatever, but you don't have to, you know, call for them to hang in the town square or anything like that. And I think the conversation Mike and I had was pretty good. We touched a lot of topics, and he wrote a book that's just out of reach right now called The Second Renaissance, which so far has my attention. Very short. I think it's like $20 on Amazon. So, I always recommend to people, and this is something I do obviously for the show, I will buy the book, the record, the whatever of the people who come on this program for two reasons. One, I want to support their work, and obviously they're giving me their time, and the least I could do is try and do something for them if they're selling a product or a service. And the second reason, Len, is I want more Bitcoiners writing books. I want to see more of that stuff. I may not agree with everything in the book. You may think that there's other places where you can get that information as well, but the fact of the matter is you want to flood the zone with that way of thinking. And that said, I'd love to have Mike back on. He's ready to come back on. I'm expecting that he'll be a multi-time guest on CBP. So yeah, enjoyed that quite a bit.
Reverend Wendy Hamilton, is that the name?
Rev Wendy, yeah.
I think that's where that all started from. And
maybe
you still have that shirt?
Yeah, the sweatshirt said Hope Dealer. Great sweatshirt, but it was just so shitty. The print is like worn out. I wore it a lot though. I got a lot of comments on that sweatshirt. So there you go. Do we have a guest this week? Are we doing anything this week?
I'm not sure.
I'm not doing anything.
I'm not sure.
Unless you want to get together for half an hour on Wednesday and record.
Nobody
something.
wants to talk to us or watch us. Anyway,
I mean, there's guests that are in the hopper for me. I need a couple weeks off is what I want.
What we could do, Joey, we could play some Mario Kart and stream that live. But it's not going to be from my place because I'm not going to bust out my Switch too. So it's going to have to be off to go over there.
You're more than welcome to come over and see the studio you helped pay for. So
can I play Switch too? That'd be. Can I see what it's all
I think we can play. Yeah, you can play with the two. What do you call them? Not
Joy-Cons?
Yeah, I was gonna call them Drift Cons. Joy-Cons. Yeah.
Hopefully they fix that drift issue, but
I have no idea. But it doesn't matter. There'll be something out this week. I don't know what. Maybe a barbells in Bitcoin. I have some thoughts on the personal training.
So how many hours
in Bitcoin right now
of Mario Kart have the host logged this week?
I have not played any
0
Mario
and
Kart
0.
Yeah.
So my Switch, I'm not keeping it. It's going to be sent back because it's resale market disappeared, and Joey's busy with stuff.
I have Mario Kart though, the bundle.
But it hasn't been cracked open.
No, I still have to do the code thing or whatever, the scratch and sniff card. Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. That's good. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see about a guest this week. We'll do something, or there'll be another release. I just don't know what yet. It's summertime, man. Me and Len are thinking about taking the summer off from interviews.
Yeah,
Because people don't want to sit around on Wednesday nights. I'm fucking so busy now with my daughter growing up a little bit, and like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on at the house. It's gonna be a busy few months. We're gonna keep pumping out as much as we can, though. I promise you that.
We'll be printing stuff like this. I keep this always on standby. It's just a $1 Singapore dollar. I love having this here. Anyways,
Thanks,
some
Wedge.
boosts, Joey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through those. 521 sats comes from Doom Satoshi. Love that name, Doom Satoshi. Going to the grocery in China. Hopefully this is cheaper every year in sats. It's not a guarantee, because as you can see, the price of Bitcoin moves up and down. I mean, I think over a longer period of time, 100%, not financial advice, it will be cheaper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Seems
next
that
year,
way to
who
me.
knows? Maybe be back to 5 digits next year. Maybe not. Maybe, who the fuck knows?
We'll see.
Owen 666 sats. He says, always a fun listen. Len was especially angry today. I approve. Thumbs up. And
Love it.
yeah, I'm angry every day these days. The Bitcoin soldier on Noster, 711 sats. GTFO seems like the easy way out. A bunch of people like me won't be able to leave easily. Friends, family, jobs, just to name a few. We will remain behind and improve our situation and improve Canada.
I feel
you.
that. Yeah, I feel that sentiment. I don't want to say it's the easy way out, because it's hard for everyone to do, a get up and go strategy. Len is a proponent of that strategy. If you can do it, it's great. But it's still, I think you've admitted as much, Len, that it's difficult to do those things. There's some big decisions you have to make along the way, and stuff you have to give up. But there's a lot of people who want to stay behind and work to get Canada to a place that they remember. Maybe they can do it. I think it's less likely with each passing day, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you gotta vote harder. That's really the only way to get out of it.
I mean, this is where I'll talk about it. Okay, I sent Mark and Len a voice note today. I was laughing. Usually around 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'm still working, but I'll start putting on like some YouTube stuff, some podcast stuff that I meant to listen to try and like get my bearing for the Monday show. And I had CPAC on, QP on one screen, and I had Prime Minister Carney talking to and about our military on another screen. On one screen, I see Minister Freeland, who I think is the Minister of what? Housing and Development? Transport. Okay, so not sure why she's talking about these houses unless they're coming off of trucks, which is possible, I guess. Talking about how Canadians are going to be blessed with the manna from heaven known as modular homes, shipping container homes, and the government is doing more to put these homes down and give Canadians a place to live that's reasonably priced. And that another member from one of the other parties, it wasn't the Bloc, it was either the NDP or the Conservatives, basically got up and just said, hey, my generation, he's probably around my age, probably in his mid-30s, my generation does not want to live in a shipping container, and everyone applauded. Meanwhile, on the other screen, Prime Minister Carney talking about how our military endeavors in the future will be secured and bolstered by quantum computing. I don't know any countries, past or present, that are putting up shipping container homes and also using quantum computing in military operations. Do you know of any, sir? I'll ask you.
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not up to speed with this. However,
right. Okay.
One of the things that was announced today was Canada has met its 2% of GDP obligation with, I think, NATO. So that was, I believe that was also part of his announcement. Although I didn't hear it, I just assume it was.
I think he's on the way to that. He got some questions from reporters who are rather pointed in their lines of questioning, calling his accounting tricky and sleight of hand a couple of times. This is Prime Minister Carney. And he had to answer some difficult questions today from the press. I think everybody, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an auditor, I'm not any of these things, but I will say that I think everybody understands that getting to 2% is difficult for a country that, by our own admission, can't repair aircraft because we don't have the skills or the parts to do so. We have 4 submarines, only one is seaworthy at the moment.
It's dependent on the environment in which, if there's an appetite to go into debt, then achieving the 2%, I think it's easier. if the goal is to get to zero and not increase the deficit,
Difficult.
or so not increase the debt and not go to deficit,
difficult.
then it's obviously it's more difficult. So it really depends on what's the appetite for how much more debt you want to accumulate, and if it's a little bit larger, then getting that 2% is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Do you think there's anything to this talk that most of the NATO countries will go above 2% to something closer to 3.5%?
I've never heard of this. What's the rationale for this?
I think just they view this as a better long-term, medium-term goal than the 2%, right? I'm not sure if that. The other thing too is that we've been saying a long time now that our GDP is going up and up and up. That may be true, but a higher GDP means a higher contribution, and we don't have the productivity for it. We don't have the manufacturing for it. I still think it's funny to listen to the political rhetoric and then hear Tiff Macklem during his press conference last week. Did you watch the Canadian rate announcement? No. Somebody asked him what he thought about the U.S., Canada trade thing, and asked if he thought that we would always be tied to U.S. or if we had another option. And he said, yeah, we're always going to be tied to the U.S. Have you ever looked at a map? I think everyone's getting pretty tired of the rhetoric. It's affecting people now, right? You see the prices going up. You see that, there's controversy around stuff like TFWs and LMIAs and tariffs, and these things sting, man. They sting for average people, and more people are average than you would think, because people will always lead you to believe they have a little more than they do, right? And so, a lot of these people who are pretending they were above some of these changes are going to find that they are, in fact, right in the crosshairs when those changes start to land.
Now, with respect to Tiff, though, he has no say in this. So
people
complain to him whatever they want. For him, it may not be in one ear, not the other, but it should be, because really, maybe it's the wrong way to frame it.
Well, trade imbalance and trade policy affects stuff like employment, which, although it is not a mandate for him like it is for the U.S. central bank, it's something that contributes to his rate decision for sure. But you're right, he doesn't have a say. Short of sharing a stake with Prime Minister Carney, I don't think he gets a vote, right? So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Jamie, 1,000 sats, prosperity, masculinity, and the second renaissance. With me.
That was the title of the show. I don't know if you just copy and pasted it. Thanks anyways, Jamie. It's good. Yeah, we'll take those sats, put them to good use.
Last Business Cat, 5,000 sats. He's a big spender.
Love Business
last
Cat.
Few times. We could handle this because we're men. I love it.
Truer words never spoken. Although I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. Anyway, do we have the measles outbreak on the list of things tonight in Ontario?
We can add it.
I'd love to talk about it if we have a chance. Just a couple of things I want to point out about the coverage.
The Eglinton measles. LRT. Eglinton's finally going to get that later this year. It's been 15 years in the work. There's so much going on, Joey.
Tons.
A lot's going on.
Let's do the Bitcoin stuff first. Let's stay with tradition here.
Want to talk about core?
I don't, but we have no choice. So,
what
are these guys doing? Why is there a new PR every fucking week now?
This was been merged though, Joey.
I know. Why? Merged. So it's like the data cap or something. Did I see that right?
Yeah, they're moving that. Well, they do shoot themselves in the foot, and they first released a statement on the relay policy. I want to thank them for their divine guidance, right? Because let's be honest, without them, I'd be lost. I solely rely on their information, their expertise, and it's like following the science, right? Don't give me a chance to inject any sort of independent thought. I don't want to interfere with that. I want just Bitcoin's.
The only injection I'm getting is the one that everyone says I should get.
But those guys and gals and whatever, whoever are core, keep in mind it's the month of celebration, so we have to acknowledge they want to flatten the curve with respect to filtering transactions.
Yes,
that's what their goal is, and they're doing this with this nice. It started off with this. It's almost like a misdirection with this whole thing that they released. This saying that speeding up the blocks, what they want to do. They want to predict what's transactions are going to be mined. Shit, like this whole fucking speech. Essentially, they're just saying that stopping spam doesn't work. You could just go straight to the miner. The transactions are going to get filled no matter what, regardless if there's any filtration. whatever. We've been told so many times that filters don't work until they tell us, well, you guys can't do it anymore.
Gotta get rid of them. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for forcing the issue, guys. Right. And so the thing is, with respect to myself, like my node, it's running on very modest specs. I don't have an infinite amount of resources on my node. I would like to filter out stuff that I don't want, what I perceive it to be as trash, as spam, as stuff that I don't want to have in my mempool. I want to have the ability to have the option to take it out, right? Or at least something. So I want some flexibility. I want to be an independent node operator. And what Core is doing with this, they're pushing down this shit down our throat, right? Regardless if we want it or not. It's now you're just forced to take it. And I understand it's the time of celebration, but I don't want anything shoved down my throat. Thank you very much. Just leave it at that. These guys then, after this whole spiel that came out, then they said, you know what? We're going to fucking merge this version 30 of Core, which is going to be coming out later this year, September, I believe. I could be wrong. They're going to uncap the data carrier by default. So that means it's going to be removed. You can do it in the options in the bitcoin.com file. You could put the data carrier size option back in there, but they do advise not to do it. Why? Go fuck themselves. I think it doesn't make any sense why they are trying to push this. It makes me wonder who is paying for this to happen. Bitcoin is at the point where it could topple over a lot of trash fiat systems out there, and it could essentially just replace it with something that is a hard asset. A lot is at stake here. A lot of powerful folks here are going to lose that power, because when you have control of money, you have control of power, and Bitcoin removes that. So I'm wondering, these guys, who's paying them? What is the MO here? Why are they doing this? Luckily, there are options out there. Luke, I just want to say that guy probably has a target on his chest, because he is, I don't know what's going to happen with him, but you know what I mean? Like, he's public enemy number one when it comes to these Core folks and also the spam and trash folks.
Yeah.
Because he and his knots option gives people the ability to have options, have control over it, be independent node runners. This is what we want to do. This is decentralized. I don't want to be forced into a corner and to do that. That's fucking bullshit. I used to love running Core, but no longer. It doesn't make sense. And if you think you can still run an older version of Core that is not subjected to this, because like I said, version 30 is going to be having this, they don't maintain the old versions forever. Right now, they're maintaining up until 27.x. So every version of 27.x and newer, 28 and 29, they're all getting maintained. But once 30 comes out, 27 gets mothballed, and 28 is then the oldest version of Core that gets maintained. And once 31 comes out, version 29 is the oldest version that comes out, and so forth. So eventually, if you want to run a modern version, something that has been maintained, that has bugs that have been fixed, you're going to have to upgrade or update your version of Core until you get up to version 30. And at that point, well, unfortunately, spam galore. Like, it's bullshit. I don't know why the fuck they're doing this.
Okay, let me ask you something. Since I have like literally zero opinion on this, except that I think it's stupid, what would it take for you, as a guy who pays attention to the technical side of Bitcoin, to think that the devs were hostile enough to the money mission to sell your corn?
To sell it? No, I don't know. If
I mean, these guys are pushing. If you look on Twitter, there's people going absolutely hysteric about this. And I realized it's, maybe the top of the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, I should say. And this is opening the door to other changes that are, potentially going to be forced by the core devs, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But no one seems like actually willing to like get out of Bitcoin or fork it or whatever. So like, how bad is this really in that regard?
It's bullshit in that this is what is being offered to everybody, and everybody tends to flock to this first. And even Knots is built
fork
off
of this. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of the waterfall of where everything starts from. So, and if they're doing this, and these are the people that seem to understand what should be Bitcoin, they don't, right? They're pushing this ability to increase the amount of spam that could go on into Bitcoin blocks.
Yeah.
It's not about storing data. It's about money.
Yeah.
Right. Bitcoin is a terrible way to store fucking data.
Yeah. The data argument doesn't hold water. This thing is not worth 110K a coin because of the data option. You know, it's just not the way this is being valued.
But this move that they're doing is catering to this is a database clientele. That's what they're doing. Granted, I have to take this into context that you can go and easily go to a miner and pay that miner money to have anything put in the block. I get that you could do that.
Yeah.
But why does all the nodes out there have to propagate this bullshit? Why don't we have the ability to filter it out as much as we want? And if you want to filter it out, great. And if you don't, all the more power to you. It's decentralized. You have the ability to do shit like that. That's what Bitcoin is. You're not forced to do something. When you're forced, then it's centralized.
Mm-hmm.
Then you might as well work with a central bank. And this is not what Bitcoin is. This is everybody has at least some fucking say in this, especially people that run a node. Fuck.
Are the knots? Is the knots sort of, you know? Are the knots faithful losing steam, fighting this? I
don't know. Is if you look at the one metric,
it seems to me that they are like the metric we talked about before, like the adoption of knots for sure. But on the social layer, I'm not sure there's that much steam.
So now at 11 and change %.
Yeah, it's high. Yeah. The adoption is great, but on the social side, like the question is, will a new node runner go to knots or go to core?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So somebody that is coming to Bitcoin won't understand right away what it is the use of a Bitcoin node. They'll understand I could buy it, maybe leave it on the exchange or shit like that.
Right.
You have to go down this long path to figure out why would I want to run a node. And at that point, you're going to have to do some digging in. You have to read, you have to talk to folks, shit like that. And through that, you would hopefully understand which option would be deemed best for you. And I think through that, people would steer clear from going with core and go with something else like knots.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that over time, knots is going to continually increase its market share. Core is going to, will it go less than 50%? It potentially can happen.
Yeah.
And that would be a phenomenal fucking,
we
that
talked about the version,
fucking pissed.
We talked about the version numbers too, right? Like there was a lot of people who were going backwards in their version of core compared to forwards. This was, when did we talk about these numbers? 3 weeks ago, maybe something like that. So like this is a bit more technical than we normally get on this show, but it's important only because like, I kind of want, what I really want, Len? I want the guys who sell pre-built nodes to have knots pre-installed and not core. Like that's an easy win if you can get it, but it doesn't seem like there's just any appetite to be on one side or the other by,
well,
Ronin
Start
Dojo
9,
or whatever. Start 9 gives you an option. Yeah.
And I don't know about any other. Probably Umbrel does. I don't really know. I never used Umbrel before, so I can't really say. So, but even down that path, people should use other options. These pre-built options, they're nice. They look fancy and everything. Really, people should have a lot more flexibility. Just run it on your Windows, run it on your Linux computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like that way you could run where the fuck you want. And that's what I say is the best course of action, rather than getting these pre-built devices.
Yeah. We'll move on, but Mix Picks in the chat saying my node Umbrel Start 9 all have the options. So you got
that's wonderful. So
there, yeah.
People are voting with their CPU power and they're voting for an option, and they like the fact that it's core. Sorry, Knots is an alternative to core. 11%.
Yeah.
In a very short period of time, like that. I don't know, man. I would love to see how things transpire in the next year, especially if core maintains this stance, this bullshit stance. I want to go back. Do you think that somebody's paying them for? Are they truly Bitcoiners? Do they live and breathe Bitcoin? Like, what the fuck? Because, like I say, there's a lot at stake here, and if you could infiltrate this group of folks, and you could hurt it.
Who's paying them?
I don't
for
know.
Data storage. Like, this is the question that I don't understand anymore. You could have made the case to me maybe during, like, you could have made the case maybe during the ordinals craze that Ethereum was trying to get at the cornerstone of Bitcoin by throwing JPEGs on there and convincing people this is the use case for the global reserve asset. Now I don't think they are. You could have made the case to me that banks, guys like JP Morgan, guys like BlackRock were trying to get at Bitcoin because it's potentially damaging to their long-term business model. I don't think that's the case anymore. Governments maybe, but even the US now talking about obviously a Bitcoin reserve, although that's kind of dead in the water. We'll talk about California a bit later. But I just don't know who's paying. Like, the incentives don't really line up.
There's a lot of enemies out there
who do you think?
You've mentioned a few of them, and you know what? I don't want to discount all of them.
Yeah,
either all of them could potentially be.
You think it's possible still? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And
right.
Given when going into the weeds here, given what happened in soccer some 15, 20 years ago, there was huge scandal in Italy for the match fixing.
In FIFA?
No, in Syria.
Oh, I was gonna say FIFA's the most clean,
and even that's too
organization ever of all time. So it's them and the Vatican, I think, like completely untouchable. Teflon. Yeah.
So it's a huge scandal, and it required very little resistance to get shit done because they were able to use these old mafia from Yugoslavia to come in and strong arm people, and just a few people here just get them on board. A ref here. Things get done. It doesn't take much to make people see things your way, especially when you threaten people. But
happened in the NBA too. NBA got mixed up in mafia activity too. Yeah, a few referees. One of them, Scott Foster, still refereeing games in the playoffs. If you can believe that. Yeah.
Wow.
You can bet from your phone now, but I guess they think it's easier to catch him. I'm not sure. The Tim Donaghy story, for people who don't know, I can't do it justice, but there was a ref basically who was fixing games and admitted to fixing games and has done a big media tour since he got out of jail and said there was other people involved. Look at the case. And so people started looking at the case, and there's one specific sort of set of data that really is damning towards Scott Foster. Every time Foster and Donaghy were doing games at the same time in different arenas, they spoke on the phone during halftime of those games. I don't even call my wife that much. And this guy was obviously fixing games. So there's a lot of specials you can watch on that. Netflix has a good one. There's a good podcast that I listened to maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The Donaghy story is awesome. High drama, mafia. It's really good. It's really good.
That's just a small snippet. When there is incentive, shit happens. When you have money and if that could happen in, not to say that this is small potatoes, but comparatively a basketball game versus the monetary system we're dealing in, it's small potatoes.
Yeah.
So,
fair.
All right, Joey, this next story happened this week, but it feels like it happened a much longer time ago. Jack Mallers, right? Okay, let's talk about him because he wrote there is no rehypothecation with strike lending, because remember they were doing strike lending. You give them your Bitcoin, to give you some cash or some equivalent.
Yeah.
And you're saying, we're not going to touch your fucking Bitcoin.
That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying.
Yeah. Well, some guy named Bitcoin Cartoons on X. Got to give this dude some credit. He went through the terms and conditions of the loan, Section 3K specifically, and it says that, well, this shit happens. They're going to be lending this stuff out to whatever the fuck they want. So yeah, there you go. And he's asking for Jack Mallers to give some feedback to this. He goes, here's the clear terms and conditions saying, you know what, this is one thing, you're saying something else. There's a contradiction here. The legal document kind of trumps what you're saying on X. And Mallers replied that this is a legal nuance, but definitely worth clearing up. And he says, strike partners with capital providers like NYDIG. And this shit happens, he says, all the time. I don't know, man. Like, let's be honest. I don't believe him. I believe the fact once you give up your coin, they're going to do whatever they want, because these guys are in business to make more money.
For sure.
Very
how are they making money on your coin? Are they opening a museum where people can pay to see your UTXO on their books? Like, no.
Well,
they're doing something with the shit you deposit. Like, what
Yes.
is so hard to understand about this?
There is like a percentage you pay. Like if say you want to lend one Bitcoin,
Right.
and you get like $110,000, but you have to pay back 2.5%. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
of
the percentage
course,
was.
of
So
course,
they're
yeah.
going to make some money off that for every legitimate person that pays it back. But those companies they're not holding on and just doing nothing. They're not sitting on the keys.
Agreed.
This just goes to show every time you give up your Bitcoin for something in these type of things, you're giving it up. You don't have your keys. It's not yours anymore. And they have, in terms of conditions, the right to do whatever they fucking want with it. Jack Mallers, he's left with.
Am I vindicated on Mahler's yet? Am I vindicated here? This guy never delivers, man. He never delivers. He made all kinds of promises, huge promises over the years. And now what's he doing? Don't forget, he just jacked up the fees on Strike too, right? That was about 6 months ago, something like that. Jacked up the fees on Strike, got shit from Predator for that. Now he's doing now the Bitcoin brilliance, that this guy was paraded around as, is doing what? Oh, he's got another lending product where he's rehypothecating. Wow. That's fucking visionary. Cool. That's great. Like, give me a fucking break, man. Are we done with this guy yet? Come on. We cannot keep putting this guy on a pedestal. By the way, SoftBank and Cantor in bed with this guy and Tether for that 21 company.
Yes.
I tweeted that video that Predator made of Gensler. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, where Jack is explaining how 21 works and what the first quote unquote product they offer is, and how the first product is the equity. Like, this is a joke. It's a joke. Okay. If you're going to buy a Bitcoin equity, there's other options. You should just be buying Bitcoin. Don't try and rehypothecate loan. Like, again, the bar that this guy set for himself was so high. Okay. There was the year where he was doing the Bitcoin racing. I still remember he had a picture with that underwear girl that's also fucking vanished. Had the, yo presentation. He's buying a Coke at the fucking store with his Bitcoin. And now here we are 3 years later, and he's doing a loan product. Visionary, true visionary. Did anyone else? Oh, that's right. Everybody thought of a loan product before him. Okay, good. There we go. I hope everyone's happy. We are done talking about this guy. By the way, I know someone who worked for Strike and has equity in the company and is waiting for them to go public. And it's just every news release just tanks the value of that equity. Every news release, like they can't get anything fucking right. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 21, that company that is going to be accumulating corn. This seems to be the very popular thing to do, right? There seems to be a lot of announcement for companies.
Bitcoin acquisition vehicle, Bitcoin treasury company, whatever, right? These are the...
Yeah. The example from this week that is going to highlight this and just tie it on it, this company called Vanity Coffee.
Saw this.
Right? Like, they are looking to be a Bitcoin first company by acquiring over $1 billion with a B dollars worth of Bitcoin using the MicroStrategy playbook.
They're a coffee company where 80% of their physical locations were either going out of business or out of business. I'm pretty sure. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know exactly the specifics on that, but yeah. I think they're publicly traded.
Of course.
Do you know what their market cap is?
Less than ours, probably.
No, I would argue that ours is pretty. It's 1.4 million. I believe that's USD.
Could we sell this brand for $1 million?
I
don't know.
If these guys could almost 1,000x,
like that's their plan, eh? Like, just give me who are the Bitcoiners giving these guys money? Is what I want.
Joey,
to know.
If we're worth $1 million, just hypothetically, this is worth $1 million. We just have to IPO, say we're going to be buying Bitcoin, and it will be 1,000x. Then all we have to do is we got to release the video. This company is going to 1,000x valuation. Joey, then we got to put that picture.
How many shares of this company do you need to retire?
And we each have to have our faces of like of a surprise. We got to do it like that. Like, we just fucking.
Don't we could really go hard. If Sailor can do Bitcoin Torque, then we can do some kind of like other Bitcoin word, like I don't know, Bitcoin drivetrain or something. And the trick is that actually all the Bitcoin we buy is just the drip that we get from the Bull loyalty program. We're not actually buying anything. It's actually the shareholders buying the Bitcoin for themselves, and then we just roll it into the stock. It's like, this is the kind of shit you're seeing now. Like this does not make any sense. It does not make any sense that this is going on. A coffee company, I'm gonna go Bitcoin first. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're selling 6 out of 10 drip over cups to people who are fucking hungover or late for work. You're not getting $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. You're not. It's never going to happen. Mark in the chat saying, new Bitcoin, new treasury strategy. We will acquire 1 billion Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically what they're saying, right? Like,
everybody's fucking doing it.
Like,
this is it's the theme of the day, right? Oh, let's fucking say something that's going to splash. Oh, let's buy Bitcoin. How much?
Great.
Doesn't matter. But
it's so great.
Thank you, guys. Paraguay, I'm not sure if you saw this. This is a pretty funny one.
I did. Yeah.
Paraguay's president came out today on X saying that they're going to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. As per Reuters, the account was likely hacked.
Yeah.
And they say the Paraguay's government came out saying that his account was trying to promote the trading of Bitcoin, and presented some irregular activity on the account, which suggests the possibility of unauthorized entry, says the government in a statement.
The possibility, yeah, it's possible.
I can't really nail him to the cross, because if the SEC's Twitter account could also get hacked, like, right, like, come on, not to put Paraguay below them, like, so it sucks, it sucks, but you guys get a pass, right? Gotta give you guys credit.
I love it.
So, initially when I didn't realize till very, very recently, till like almost just before the show started, that it was hacked. I kind of thought that this pump was somewhat associated.
The Paraguay pump.
Well, what the fuck?
There's like 8 people living in Paraguay.
Hey, they play soccer very well over there. They got more than 8. They can put
What's their FIFA 14 rating? Paraguay's team, is it in the 60s?
I wouldn't even know. We'll have to check it out tomorrow on Wednesday. Yeah. All right. JP Morgan.
Yeah.
Looks like they're going to be allowing the use of Bitcoin ETFs as collaterals for loans.
Love that, man. Love that. I just talked about this on Money Talks, and it came out. Not the JP Morgan product, but I mentioned how as the ecosystem matures, you're going to see more options to use Bitcoin as collateral. This is even better. The ETF
right now,
is like one step down from Bitcoin, obviously from spot.
It's going to be only allowing at this particular moment. It's live, apparently, the BlackRock's ETF.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
No other ETF is.
That's okay. That's right.
As of right now, things could change, right? All this really does, it just allows for more leverage, more bullshit, right? Because you're going to be lending up your Bitcoin as collateral. If shit goes bad, your collateral is going to have to get maybe liquidated.
Yep.
So potential new ways for people to make it bigger, get wrecked, all thanks to this fiat magic. Absolutely love it. JP Morgan also allows other things for collateral: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, specific ETFs, real estate, fine art, not NFTs,
metals, probably
precious metals, and a lot of stuff like that.
Yellow cake. If you have a little yellow cake, you can probably use that.
So as Bitcoin tends to increase in value, the amount of Bitcoin that BlackRock accumulates, it's also going to be going up. And it's just, you're going to get more Bitcoin. Right now, IBIT has 660,000 Bitcoin in their reserves, I guess, whatever. As of the end of April, it was 572,000. So it went up almost 90,000.
There's a lot of buyers, man. Those ETFs are popular, and they're contributing to stuff like fees going down, probably the financialization of an asset as well. Like like I said to Mike, and you and me have, I think, differing views on this, I should say. I don't know if we 100% disagree, though, that this is what you're going to get as people realize this is a better asset than gold, than stocks. Like, people are going to want this as collateral. It's just the nature of the game. So there's going to be good and bad that come with that, but it's a sign of maturity more than anything else.
All right, this guy looks like he's matured a little bit too. His name is James Howells.
This guy, no, come on. We're still talking about this guy?
I think, well, briefly.
We talked about this guy before, probably. Like in the infancy of the show. Remember we had all
Did
these
we?
bad ideas for segments. Like we would do like the Bitcoin story of the week or whatever, and it'd be
Did
like,
we ever talk about this guy?
this is the garbage dump guy, Howells?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So he is an IT worker from Newport, South Wales.
Yeah.
So remember, he's an IT.
He was on the
worker.
desk at the Bitcoin conference, by the way. Yeah. So he was in the news. He's trying to make a push, or was anyways.
Well, okay. This guy claimed that 7,000 Bitcoin was in one of his hard drive, which he ended up tossing.
He says his partner did it.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Blame
game.
He has since given up this fight, but he's not going to leave without squeezing every last drop from this fucking lemon, because a Los Angeles-based production company has acquired the rights to tell his story in a new documentary, and it's going to be titled "The Buried Bitcoin: The Real-Life Treasure Hunt of James Howells." So that's why I say when probably haven't heard of the last of this guy.
Who's producing it? Is it going to be done by Bill Simmons? Let's get Bill Simmons to do it.
The production company is Lebul, Lebul.
Never heard of him. I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask, anyways. But
So,
you know what he said at the Bitcoin desk at the conference, that he was planning on buying the landfill. He was crowdfunding and buying the landfill was his next plan. But
no problem.
I don't think it worked out. I mean, this guy is like nuts. And by the way, all caps in the chat saying he's a B casher now. I didn't know that.
Oof. Well, the one thing I wonder, this guy claims to be working in IT, an IT worker.
Yeah.
If somehow that hard drive was supposed to be discarded, wouldn't it have been wiped first? Like, if I'm going to get rid of something.
Len, great angle. Great angle by you there. Yeah.
Well,
what kind of IT guy throws away a hard drive full of data? Yeah.
100%.
Where's the magnet? Get the magnet on that thing.
Either he's dumb as shit or he's dumb as shit. So you pick which one of the two it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick dumb as shit, but I don't know.
This guy was going crazy about these coins in 2017 when the coins were worth 20,000 a piece. You know, you can imagine how much sleep this guy is losing now. He's probably just a shell of himself. I don't wish that on anybody, but man, like, talk about key control and the importance of not your keys, not your coin. This was before hardware wallets. Obviously, he had a little bit more of a slope in terms of his difficulty, his own personal difficulty adjustment, but. Could have gone a lot better for him. I feel for the guy. He's young too. You ever see the guy? He's probably like in his maybe early 40s.
Oh, I would say younger than that.
Yeah, he's a young guy. It's tough.
He's aged a lot in the past little while.
Don't say that. That's a low blow. He's been in the garbage dump for the last 10 years. He's picking through things with chopsticks.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Right? And is he just going with like a metal detector, or is he like
okay, so I don't know all the details, but I'll tell you what I've heard over the last like month or so. That he's done everything from bringing in AI to come up with cleaning plans, and he's brought in environmental impact groups to help mitigate the quote unquote damage that, searching a landfill could do. He's talked to different groups from the city and different garbage management groups about what quadrant is most likely to have this hard drive and all these different things. And the dump is basically just saying, like, you're not turning the whole thing upside down. Like, I'm sorry, you're not doing that. And by the way, I actually agree with the dump, because you don't want people just saying to you that they lost something and having an avenue to uproot your whole garbage dump. Like, that doesn't scale. Okay. You can't do that in a large population, large hub, whatever.
You can't put this on the blockchain.
Everyone loses shit in the garbage. Today, during our bathroom reno, I was supposed to take off the old shower head because it's nice, like, it's like a new whatever with the thing that comes off of the top. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but anyway,
that's easy to do. You just Teflon and screw
I
back
took
in,
it. I took it off, but I left it in the washroom. And when the contractor came by, he's doing the demo, and I remembered. I like popped upstairs and go, "Hey, did you ever see the thing?" He goes, "It's in the garbage." So I went into the bin to get it. Thank God I could.
So you
see
know what?
it still.
You could relate.
Yeah,
you could relate.
I'm basically this guy.
Yeah.
The parallels are obvious.
Except it's not 8,000.
My shower head was, it's $30, and his is, 80 million or whatever.
You know what it kind of reminds me? You ever hear the story about, this is going way back, Atari, when they produced a game called E.T., which was a terrible game.
Okay.
By a lot of people. So what happened? They overproduced.
There's no
the game
good Atari games, by the way. Just want to throw it out there.
Warlords, Yar's Revenge. There's a few good ones.
Okay.
Pitfall 2, 1. Anyways, ET came out. They produced way more than they could sell. So what it ended up doing, they just buried it in a landfill. And it was basically, it was a legend. It was like a myth until somebody decided to actually go there to that. It was buried like in a desert in the garbage dump. They actually figured out exactly where it should be because based off, where garbage would have been placed, and they dug it up, and sure enough, there were games that they buried. It wasn't just a legend; it would turn out to be true, and they ended up selling
That's good.
some of those games that they dug up because people wanted them as collector's items. So I found it to be so. It's very similar to those two stories.
Good for them. We got to get what's his name there, James Howell or whatever. Get over.
No, it's Howard Scott Warshaw. That was the guy that programmed that.
Yeah,
game.
we got to get this guy over. Start looking for some old game cartridges because that Bitcoin's gone, bro. It's time to move on. She's over
Atari
you, bro.
still lives.
She's over you.
Atari still lives. All right, this news this past week about a Californian bill made some waves. Assembly bill.
This is in the thumbnail. I think this is a big story.
It can be, depending on how you look at it. People were speculating this bill could be a way for the state to potentially go after Bitcoin that's been left on an exchange for 3 years and it's been inactive. You didn't log on to the exchange. You didn't do anything with that Bitcoin. You just bought Bitcoin 3 years plus ago and it's been sitting there. And so they say if no active ownership interest for 3 consecutive years takes place, the asset could then be deemed unclaimed. And if the state ever gets their hands on it, that means it will be put in a hold and not sold off. They say
be used to buy pallets of bricks for Democratic protesters.
That's in the private market. We're talking this is public funds. So they're just going to hold on to this. So they say that as they're just going to hold on to it, not sell it, it gives the opportunity to the customer to get access or get claim to their Bitcoin at a later date by reclaiming the asset. Since exchanges, a lot of them, maybe all of them, do KYC, claiming ownership of that shouldn't be too hard because all you have to do is just present the right documentation, who you are, match it to the exchange, and voila, there you go. But it does, I mean, if you do something like that, maybe it starts putting a target on your back because then you basically identify to the state, yeah, I fucking own it.
This is exactly what I think. You identify a wallet. Yeah, that's the big thing here. Not the state's gonna grab your Bitcoin. Like they might. Don't get me wrong. They may. I think that's possible. Who doesn't want $100,000 Bitcoin to just wind up in the state coffers because the guy hasn't logged in for 3 years, right? Guy leaves the country or forgets his password or just is like, yeah, I don't want to log in because I'll be tempted to sell it. Who knows? But the big thing is that you are identifying private wallets when you force people to move their coins. Now, I want to know what active ownership means. Does active ownership mean signing into an exchange account? Or does it mean, okay, so that's not quite identifying a wallet, but I think this is probably the first part of a number of these different attempts we will see to eventually make it to identifying a wallet. And this is what people want. Me and you talk about this all the time. You have to have good wallet security, anonymity for some of your Bitcoin. I think this is very important. Whether you're using a mixing service, whether you're doing cash buys, ATM buys, Bull Bitcoin had the post office cash option for a while. There's ways to get KYC free Bitcoin, and you should have some. That's number one. Number two, though, Len, when you start identifying wallets, it's not just the wallet you send to that's identified. So you have to know that as soon as you start to log into these things and send stuff around, there's a whole wormhole that you're potentially going down in terms of exposing your privacy on the Bitcoin side. So how do you do something about this? It's a good question. Your privacy is something you have to manage early and often. And if you lapse, there's no getting it back. You got to start fresh, right? Start with a new wallet, start with a new set of keys, whatever. But if you're not logging into an exchange every 3 years with the hopes that you're kind of laying low, that's going to change. How much Bitcoin do you think is on these exchanges longer than 3 years? Because if you left your Bitcoin on 3 years, the last 3 years, or even the 3 years before that, like significant price appreciation, right? So
I gotta just say, it's leaving it on there and doing nothing, not logging onto the account.
I know.
Like it's essentially just
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Basically.
I think it's a rather small number in
Okay.
the grand scheme of things. I think there's a lot of people that leave their stuff on the exchange, but they're probably active. They're going on, they're looking at the price, they're looking at what the value is. And so in terms of, I do know one individual though that bought Bitcoin on Coinbase many years ago and never recovered it. And I told him several times, you got to do it. And I think he might have went through the process not too long ago to get it. I'm not sure.
Never recovered it. What do you mean?
Like never just, he just left it on there.
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
And I don't know the exact amount. I didn't want to know, but still, this was like many years ago. He bought it.
It's enough now to
even when
the price hit 100,000. Like you and me over the years, this is as bad as my OPSEC will ever get. You and me over the years have put like minuscule amounts on different wallets that have been sent our way or different wallets we picked up, and like I have a bunch of those shitty wallets lying around here. It was almost $1,000. All those wallets. Like if you have corn on the exchange from 2013 or 14, like, I mean, you're doing great if you have a Coinbase account that hasn't been touched in a decade. And I just it's baffling to me that people don't care enough to sign in, like you said. Like,
I know.
That's a low bar. It's a low bar.
Yeah. And then once you sign in, I always tell people, gotta take it off. Gotta find a way to learn how to secure it. I hate Ledger. I think it's shit, but you know what? Ledger is still a step in the right direction compared to just leaving it on an exchange.
Go offline, Sparrow, generate a
go.
seed, and then write the address out in pen, whatever. Like there's ways to do this, just the exchange is low on the level of security and possession. What is it? 90% of the law is possession or something like that. So you want to have it, man. You want to have it. You don't want to be fighting with them over it just because it's got your sign in at the front door.
Another Bitcoin ETF may become live in a very near future. I'm kind of perplexed about this. It's not just from anybody. It's courtesy of the President Trump's social.
That's right.
They filed a prospectus, and you just took a look at it, and it looks like they're going to be using a custodian, of course, just like every other ETF would. Forest Dax Trust, aka Crypto.com. I thought these guys were going to go tits up in 2022, 2023, but they ended up managing. Now they're fucking going to be securing this. And with respect to this ETF, who the fuck cares? I don't know why anybody was making it, but some people were posting big things that gives a shit.
Sir, I agree. I have just about had it with this administration and its antics. So yeah, not
well.
not
we'll
great.
talk about that in the.
I'm
next
sure.
Part
I'm
let's,
sure
let's
we
end
will.
This. Yeah. All right. Let's end this Bitcoin side. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I think we went a little bit long in the first segment, which cut into our Bitcoin talk, but
That's
still.
all right.
The latter half of the show, the second part, I think is going to be fucking dynamite. And if the first part wasn't dynamite, the second part is going to be fucking
strap in. If it's not dynamite, it's at least going to be a skid of bricks. So strap in, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, don't be a cock.